But it's important to understand there's a reason why she stayed. There's a reason why she stayed for so long. There's a reason why she got engaged, married. He was cheating from day dot, it seems. She stayed for a reason. And so predatory, no, I don't believe that. But I do believe in radical responsibility without blaming herself. Just being able to look at, well, I did this because of this. Doesn't make me a bad person. I'm not wrong, but I stayed for a reason. And that's all I have to say, really.
No, I definitely hear that point as well. I definitely love that that point as well. I would say, I think someone put a point. I think he's more manipulator than predator, but I also understand the predator aspect too, because you know, in terms of maybe the precision. I don't know if you. I don't know. I don't know if he's. I mean, you can call him predator. I guess. You know, I think personally, I know too many guys like that. I think that's why in my head I know guys like this, right? I know guys like this who they don't. They if I told them what kind of girls you go for, they won't be able to explain what kind of girls they go for. But when you see the girls they go for, you see there's a pattern. Pretty, but self-esteem is in the like pretty, but the self-esteem is swimming with the whales in the deep sea. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so they instinctively know, but not like they can't break it down in terms of what they're looking for. So I feel like they're also reacting on instinct, and they now know, just like a tiger knows instinctively. It's not thinking, you know, this human being, I'm going to tear his face up. It's like instinctive. I see you, I take you out. And I think maybe some of them are maybe more conscious about it, but I definitely feel, you know, a lot of the guys that I've seen, they're also reacting from their trauma, right? And they see things as normal in a dysfunction, and they know it's wrong, right? When you speak to them and you break it down, like, bro, you know that's wrong. Yeah, but you know, but it's the same way with our good sis here too. Like she said, nobody could have told her nothing. You know, you tell her, and she wouldn't be able to hear for nothing. You know, in that instant. Just a quick sweep away from this topic, not from this topic, but from her to Derrick Jaxon real quickly. Question is his content a lie? So is his content a lie? You know, and you can take that in any context you want, but is his content a lie? Is Derrick Jaxon's content a lie? Because I've listened to his content, but you know, I ain't gonna lie to you. Listen, I don't like everything he says, but you know, he be telling some truths. He's telling you to avoid him. So, so I guess he's been telling on himself for a very long time. But what's your guys' thoughts? I mean, do you think his content was on point? I don't know if you actually heard any of his content. Have you seen any of his content? Anything like that? JR, since you're new to the conversation, we're asking this question: Derrick Jaxon content, lies, falsities, or was there truth in it?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Derrick Jaxon's content, in my opinion, was actually very accurate because he was talking about himself in a third person. So he was saying the absolute truth. And that's why I feel like he was able to speak on behalf of men, when in reality, he's speaking about himself as a man and what he was doing. All right. So that's that. And then with regards to your previous conversation about whether he was predatory or not, I wouldn't say he was a predator in terms of him and Danae, because that apparently happened because they were dating loosely and he had other women that she knew about, right? So I don't see him as a predator in that respect. Unfortunately, she got pregnant as a result of it. And yeah, like Jay Anderson and a few others have said, like, I think he stepped up out of necessity, like, you know, doing the right thing type thing. So in my opinion, it could have been any of the girls that he was linking. He would have probably done the same thing, just stepped up and married her. But with regards to his content, like I said, he he seemed to know what he was talking about. And it was only after everything got exposed that it you know, the bell went off. I knew he was pandering, if you want to call it that, to his audience, because of the way he dumped on men. He wasn't actually giving relationship advice, because he wasn't talking about both parties in the relationship. He was just talking from one side. So yeah, I think he definitely, I want to say he definitely is guilty of confessing his sins, if you want to call it that, and actually being accurate and factual with what he was talking about.
Thank you, JL. Max, what's your thoughts? Derrick Jaxon content, true or false? Good, bad, whatever you look at it.
So from what I remember of his content, I think it's useful to have it out there. I don't necessarily think the information he gives isn't useful for women to know. Is it true to him? Of course not. But as in he doesn't adopt that in his own life. But is he well placed to give the advice? Unfortunately, yes. So it's a bit of a paradox. You know, it's a bit of a contradiction. But at the end of the day, it is useful information to have out there. But I think the problem with it is when it now came for accountability time, I feel like his persona stopped the accountability in a way. It kind of shielded him. So that's why he was able to do like the third person account, and he was able to survive and still have the business and the presence that he has now. So I think it's been harmful in many ways, but in terms of if his content is useful, if it's true to a certain type of man, including himself, yes, it is.
Appreciate it. Max, Jay?
Do you know what? I think Derrick, right? He is the equivalent to me of a preacher who is on the pulpit, giving everyone the word, but at a surface level, and leaving it there. Also, he's not living by that life at all. Now, there's different pastors out there that will speak about that they want to give the good news, etc. But as Bible reading Christians, we know that there's a whole bunch of work that we need to do, that we need to allow God to work within ourselves, right? Right, my grammar was rubbish here. So let me say that again. There's a whole bunch of work that we need to allow God to do within us. And to me, so when we talk about Derrick's content at the surface level, as I said earlier, do you know what? It was on point. There were certain truths that a man should be telling his daughter. There's certain truths that, you know, a man should even be telling his missus, like, just be careful of guys like this. Don't be naive. You know, telling sisters and whatnot. However, from when he is not trying to hold any woman accountable for her decisions, that's what started to get a man's back up. Like, hold on a minute, what's going on here? Because right now it's feeding into the pink pill, even though there wasn't a thing back when he started, about man is always a problem, man are this, man are that, man are that. And it's a problem because you can't just pander to one side. It doesn't matter which side it is. You can't just pander to one side and think anything is going to get better, because we're human beings. You know, we are highly influenced. We can easily be trained to misunderstand things, even though what we received is actually good. So everyone has to be careful. And Jay, I loved what you said. He's not actually giving relationship advice. And I think that's the key. If you actually want to help people do better at relationships, give relationship advice. And it starts with our choices as people. It starts with why in our traumas do we accept the things that we accept. When it comes to the word, you know, the word talks about us all the time, like allowing God to do work on ourselves. That's where it starts. We can't just think about the actual, you know, we can't complain about the lack of relationship that we have if we're not putting in the work to actually create a closer relationship. It don't make sense. And so the word predator, actually, now I think about it, I will also say he was a predator to the market of which he knew, if I spoke to ladies about this and I continue doing this, I'm gonna blow. I'm the type of man that these ladies like, a good-looking man who's doing well for himself, etc. I am him. If I do this content, ladies are gonna lap it up. Ladies are gonna love it. I'm gonna say this: ladies are gonna validate me. You know, and that's one of the things I realized. you know, we don't know his life right now, but that's how I began to see it as well. He may be someone who needs this level of attention, needs this level of validation because there's something missing in him. Maybe he tried to make it work with Denia, but there was something else that was going on, you know, and we may see it, we may not, who knows, right? But yeah, that's kind of really all I have to say about it. I mean, there's so much to say, we don't have enough time, so let's leave it there. Charlie, I think, yeah, Cole just he's frozen, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think that his content is true for men who are like him. But if you listen to his content, you will think that all men are like that. I think that Derrick Jaxon he's one of these people that he believes that the universe revolves around him. I've noticed a few things about him. And because he believes the universe revolves around him, he believes that the things that he's talking about is all that there is to talk about. So there are no men out there who are amazing and, you know, even set the bar for the standard of love. It's just what he's talking about. That's the only thing that really exists. That's the vibe I get from him. And so, yeah, I guess the content is true then, because he's just talking about one specific type of person, which happens to be himself. And it's just like there's nothing else that's ever talked about. I don't recall a time when he would talk about a healthy black man or a healthy relationship. And if he did speak about it, it would always be from the context of what's not healthy. Do you know what I mean? And so this dysfunctional rabbit hole that he has drilled down into is lucrative. And I said in our private chat that it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't buy into half the things that he says. But his aim is to be seen as this sort of legend that is here to make a lot of money and to be seen as somebody credible and somebody to be listened to. And I don't think that it matters to him what he's talking about. He could be talking about tech. He could be talking about the food and agricultural industry. It doesn't really matter as long as he has a following, because I think that his ego requires it. You understand? And so that's all there is to it. I just think that this is a real easy way to do it. Just profit off of black women's pain. And there you are, a demigod.
Yeah, man, I hear you. I personally think Derrick Jaxon, you know, I think he wouldn't mind. No, I think his content is true. I think a majority of his content is pretty true, to be honest. Pretty factual, pretty on point. It's a bit one-sided, but it's pretty much on point. You can only give what you know. And clearly he knows. So that is why he was given such information as he was, because he knew. Ladies, know your value, know your worth, this and that. Because that's, in fact, the whole of his YouTube is dedicated to his wife. It's not even dedicated anyway. It's dedicated to Derrick Jaxon, his wife. That's who it was dedicated to. Because every time he talks, most of the videos that he does videos for, you can now see like, so you weren't talking to us, you were talking to your wife. You understand, right? Because what he's in a sense describing is women like his wife who maybe don't have the esteem and have not been spoken to in the right way to understand how the bad boys move. Okay. Now, of course, he was still in his bad boy, era, and he was doing what he was doing. But I think his content is true. Like I watch my. I mean, it's annoying because it's a bit one-sided. It's a bit pandering, panderish in that essence. But it is true. And look, so he made a huge following from it. At the time, he still has quite a few people following him. I think I just checked on his profile now. He has 730K. I don't know if it's dropped now because I think he was on 1 million. I don't know if it's dropped, but he's still got quite a good following. And I'm sure he will continue. I think he just needs a turnaround. I mean, I think he needs some healthy therapy. And he needs another dose of Jesus because clearly the first one didn't work. So he needs a second dosage. Okay, so in terms of obviously then Derrick Jaxon and Derrick Jaxon, in her interview, she spoke quite clearly about becoming one of the rotations. Talked about having 3 abortions. She talked about winning the battle with all the women and finally bagging Derrick Jaxon. She spoke about before they got married. She even there was other women that he was talking to, but she was still letting it be. He was cheating. I want to get your kind of thoughts. There's a lot of stuff that was happening before she got married. So what's you guys and ladies, what's your thoughts on some of those things that were mentioned and how you kind of saw it as well? Who would I take the baton? JR, go for it. Take the baton.
Yeah, like before they were married, she had a clear idea of how he was as a person. Maybe they had a conversation about him changing once he got married. That could be plausible. But for the most part, she admitted to seeing many other women leaving his room as she was going to his room and things like that. So that indicates to me there's an element of complicit and definitely competitiveness to a degree, or just being nonchalant about it, not really caring that there's other women. But that's obviously going to enable him to keep continuing, because like you said, like his content is geared towards a specific audience, and there's no reason for him to change that when he's got 730,000 women worldwide following him still. All right, they didn't leave when they found out the revelations about him pulling up outside his side chick's house and making videos out there. They stayed with him. Some of them would still get with him now if you look their way, right? So he has no reason to change, and she probably had unrealistic expectations if she thought that she was going to change him, because the change has to come from within. He has to realize that, boom, okay, I lived a certain lifestyle before we got married. Now I'm going to change up and I'm going to be the stand-up guy that she deserves in her life. He knew about her father not being there. He knew about the traumas that are associated with that. So he could have easily, tried to appease her with some lip service and get her on board with his program. But to be honest, I personally feel like he didn't even need to do that. I don't think she's the type of person, from what I've seen of her in her multiple videos and exchanges, I don't think she's forceful enough to get him to influence him enough to want to change, right? He seems like a very intelligent guy, and very how can I put it? He's not self-aware in terms of the damage his messages is doing, but he's self-aware in terms of knowing that he is gaining success from that message. And that message that he's putting out, I agree with you. He was kind of warning his women like his wife against people like him. So that's what I take from that.
Jay, talk to me.
I think the moment she showed him that it was okay, for her to be one of the many, is one of the moments that she showed him that he doesn't need to change, or at least put in the work to change. I know many guys who'll be like, one day I will, when I feel like it. but won't put in the actual work to say, I need to do better. And the moment she accepted his behavior at bare minimum, remember this, bare minimum, that's when, you know, from that point onwards, there was no going back. There was actually no going back. So I know a lot of guys that would say, wow, she's still here. She's still putting up with this. She's still around. I actually have a friend who married that same type of girl. And, you know, I all I said to him is, I hope you've changed. And he said, yes, I'm happy. I have another friend who is exactly like Derrick. And he preys on women who are like this so that they can, what he says, he loves the toxicity. He loves the arguing. He loves the fight. He loves all of that stuff. And yeah, I don't know what's happening to him and his dad. He never talks about his dad. And his mum was low-key abusive as well. You know, so I can see in his own trauma, he wants this behavior because it validates him. He loves women. You know, all of this validates him. But when I look at Denia, I'm just, you know, I'm sad. And the reason why I'm sad is because I understand she wasn't born into this world through love. It was just something that happened. She never felt that love growing up, always needed a validation. And there's lots of women who have that. Even if the father's around, what they haven't received is the mental and emotional support. They haven't had their childhood needs emotionally met. So it comes into adulthood. And I'm sad is because a lot of ladies put themselves in a position where they do so much for a man who's giving them bare minimum. You know, and that much usually ends up in the woman giving her most prized possession, which is her body, her temple. You know, for a guy who doesn't see it that way, he's just seeing it as I want it. You're gonna give it, great, okay. I didn't have to do much, and this to me is the situation. And she kept on coming back for more, while she was thinking, okay, maybe if I did this, a lot of ladies do think this. If I did this, he's gonna give me more. Maybe if I did this, he's gonna give me what I want. That doesn't happen. That honestly doesn't happen unless that man makes a change. And in most cases, he's not going to make that change for you, but he might make that change for another woman. And this is why I'm sad, because it's the same circle that I see over and over and over again. A woman putting up with extreme toxicity because she's not in a place where she loves herself more. She's not in a place where she can even understand that this isn't love. You know, I think Derrick being the first proper man to come along, I know she was in stuff before then, to actually, you know, show her something, she might have thought, okay, maybe this is what love is supposed to be. Like, I've always struggled in my life. Maybe this is what it is. And I think, Charlene, you said it. Her having a proper man in her life would have given her the game, would have given her an understanding. This is why I talk to my daughters about everything, because I want them to grow up and actually understand what is and what is not just through my voice, but also through my own actions. You know, not being afraid to show love, not being afraid to speak about certain things. And this is why I'm sad. It's because all of this has amounted to her, you know, she's in her 30s now. Now she's having to do the work that you know, that a lot of people should do in their 20s and maybe late teens. And I think we've come into that time now where a lot of people in their 30s are realizing, yo, they need to change. What is this? They need to heal. And it's a hard road. It's a painful road, because now she's going to be attached to this man forever. You know, she can't just go her way. They got kids. So, you know, that's why it's a shame for me. And all I want is for a proper man to come along and just love her the right way. Like, love her in a way that God has placed him in. You know, just show her this is what it's supposed to be, because she hasn't had that all her life.
Hearing you, Jay, loud and clear. Charlene!
Yeah, you know something. I just wanted to reply to something that Jay said just a moment ago, when you were saying, Jay, that, you know, she needs a man that's going to come into her life to show her what she hasn't had. And I agree. There's nothing that anyone has said that I disagree with. I really love what everyone has said. And I also believe that if Denia did have somebody come into her life with an amazing standard of love, who was willing to love her and her children, and she herself hadn't decided what her standard of love was, then there's always this thing of, you push away what you are not familiar with, what you're not comfortable with, and because you've never had it. And it's like what I said when I first started is you don't know what you don't know. And you do know what you do know, which is you know what it's like to be abandoned. You know what it's like to be treated like number 4 on the roster. So therefore, you're going to just try and, yeah, he's giving the bare minimum, but she's trying to get the bare minimum. If I could just have sex with him, that's something at least. Do you know what I mean? And then if someone comes along, if you've eaten bread 3 times a day for 20 years, that's all you've eaten, and someone comes along and gives you a banqueting feast, you're not going to trust it. You're going to be like, why do I need lobster and beef and steak? And why is it seasoned? Why has it got salt and pepper on it? I don't need all of that. I've had bread 3 times a day, every day for 20 years. And that's what I'm used to. And I'm telling you, man, that's why it's so important as men and women to make that decision within about what feels good, what you're willing, what capacity do you have to even receive the love in the first place? Let's start there. And I'll hand the mic back.
Thank you, Charlene. Max, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, just adding to what everyone has said, I think what stood out to me about before they were married is the lack of intimacy they had, in terms of vulnerability, how vulnerable they were. So the fact that she says that she shared that she was raped just in kind of like almost like a passing comment 5 years in or 4 years in, and the fact that she said at one point in the interview, of what I know of his life, it was like this, there was like this statement she made of something like, of what I know of his story, or something like that was really just like, I don't really know that much. And I was a bit like, like what does she mean by that? Like, that was your whole husband. So I think that they probably had, when it came to emotional intimacy, when it came to vulnerability, when it came to sharing the darkest sides of them, and the kind of inner things, I think there wasn't a lot of that sharing from how she presented it. It doesn't sound like there was a lot of that, which means that really and truly, again, it may have been that lack of understanding of what a relationship is. And I think if you don't know what a relationship is and the other person has a particular desire, let's say a sexual desire, then you think, well, he keeps leading with that, let's just meet that desire. That's probably all there is to it. And so I think that there was a level of like naivety or just a lack of understanding of what to expect. So I don't think she was the person who could hold him accountable. I don't know if she knew what to expect from a relationship. So I think she just went by with what she thought she could expect, took what she thought she could take. And okay, when the relationship now shifted and there's multiple people, not just one, okay, I think she just went along with a lot of it. I don't think she ever said to him, oh, as she says, I don't think she ever said to him, no, this is not acceptable, or this is what I want. I think she just was flowing with things. And that's really sad to see. So yeah, a lot of healing is needed, a lot of kind of introspectiveness of, okay, what is a healthy relationship moving forward, so that she doesn't find herself in a similar situation. Because yes, this might be the end of this era, but God forbid we ever see her in a relationship that's very similar to, because she doesn't yet know what to expect. So yeah, I think everyone said everything, but I think what stood out to me was the lack of vulnerability and like personal, that's the word, the lack of personal relationship they had in their actual relationship, which may have made it easy for people to be switched out, and for other people to be added in.
Everyone's making them killer points. Okay. I guess my final question. But I love the points you guys are making. I think, for Derrick Jaxon and Denai Jackson, it was 9 years before this marriage situation. I'm just saying, 9 years. Nobody got in there. They tried to save her. We had counselors, okay, who got involved. Therapists were involved. I'm sure the church was involved. That's one thing. I hope she mentioned it in part 2. The role that church played, because they were in some cultish church, brother, okay? I remember that church pastor was preaching some madness when they showed the video that they were in. So I think that also played a big role as well. Which is why I think when she came out of the relationship, she was preaching like she was, something not quite, all that. But I saw a different side to her today. Hopefully she left that church, because you know, when you know when someone's in a cult, you can see it in the way they move. You know what I mean? So, hopefully she moves from that as well. Okay. I guess obviously maybe a more question coming from this. Is it possible for men of means and power to be faithful? I mean, is it possible? I mean, you know, you know what I mean? You got all this power. No one man should have all the power that they see. Eh? Is it possible they can be faithful? That's the question I'm asking. Charlene, you open your mic.
You're a troublemaker. Not only is it possible, but it's actually essential for you to remain powerful. Have you not noticed that men with means and men who are powerful and then cheat on their wives lose everything? You lose your integrity, you lose your strength, and then you lose half when she takes your ass to the divorce cleaners. You lose everything. So if you want to remain powerful, keep it in your pants and give it to your wife, innit? So yes, it's possible and it's essential. Come on, somebody. Amen.
Thank you, Charlene. I know the boys are not going to disagree with you at all because of last week. They didn't even tell the truth last week, so I don't expect them to tell the truth this week. JR, JR, is it possible for men of means? You know what I mean? Men of means, you know, men of power, men of renownedness, good-looking men of stature. You understand? Yeah, man, I get gal. Is it possible for them to stay faithful? I mean, there's so many women out there. Is it possible?
It is definitely possible, but it depends on the mindset of the guy, the individual we're talking about. Derrick Jaxon, is it possible for him? No, because you know the examples are there. That's why we're making this video. That's why his wife made it. Sorry, ex-wife made those videos. You know, the money, the status, the views, the likes, the followers that he's still able to generate through selling the merch and everything to give him the standing that he does still makes him appealing to so many women. But with his mindset, he is going to link those women and do whatever, like take it to the sexual, and have no problem making a video outside her house after he just put his clothes on and start lecturing to people about the goods and bads of, in fact, mostly the bad points of other men. All right. So, yeah, I think it's possible, just not with a guy who has that type of mentality that he has.
Hear you on that. Mr. Anderson, is it possible? Men of means, men of power, men of renown, that's great men. Possible to stay faithful when all these fine honeys throwing themselves at you?
I think what you just said is the difference, right? A man who has the means. Okay. There's not a conversation about a man who he's not attractive to most women. I understand a lot of women want to go for the medium ugly guy because they think, oh, maybe he's going to have a different selection, different girls. Listen, let's not even talk about that. Okay. Guys who have the means. Ladies, you know guys who have the ability to get women even when you're with them. And let's be honest, at that point, all you can trust is his discipline. That's it. But like JR said, it depends on the guy and the perspective, because it's only his discipline that's going to save him. When I say his discipline, I'm not just saying within himself, but his discipline in his relationship with God. And even at that times, there's men who have great relationships with God, but they fall in that gap. They fall in that moment of weakness depending on what's happening. I mean, we can talk about Samson in the Bible, right? I mean, he didn't have a relationship with God. He didn't pray, he didn't do anything like that, but he knew where he got his strength from. But because of his love of women, he put himself in a position where he lost his strength because of a woman. You can say he was seeing, he was tantalized by, who nagged him to reveal the source of that strength, and he lost it. King David ended up cursing his following generations because he saw another man's wife bathing naked on the roof, and he decided to send that man to his death. I mean, it seems like it's hard. It seems like it's something that's hard to do for a lot of men who have the means. But when we look at Proverbs 31 verses 1 to 10, a lot of people miss out 1 to 10 and just talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, which is, say, 1 to 9, which is Proverbs 31 woman is 10 to the end of the chapter. King Lemuel's mum said, do not chase women, do not spend your resources, your energy, your time chasing women who ruin kings. So this piece of advice is there for a reason, because it is hard for a lot of men. You know, you get a lot of women looking at you, smiling at you, chucking themselves at you. Any man who says, you know, they don't notice it is lying. They notice it, but it all comes down to his discipline. And it's down to, first of all, who are you and what do you want in life? What is your purpose? I feel like it's a dangerous game a lot of men play when they have, I'm going to say the word, when they have no dick discipline. It's a very dangerous game. You know, whether that's you're breaking hearts, having babies everywhere. I mean, I know multiple wives and multiple concubines is something that elite has done for thousands of years. I understand, but not every man. But I feel like a lot of men who are not even in a position to look after women like that want to have this lifestyle, and it doesn't make sense. You know, my dad is one of 60 children. His father had 15 wives, you know, and many more concubines, many more, you know, girlfriends. And I've seen the mess that's created in the family. To me as a man, what you're basically saying to me is you're going to put your pleasure before your generation, before your legacy. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would you purposely want to create a mess? I'm not even going to say for 1 hour, 20 minutes. Some guys are 5 minutes. What, just for a 5-minute job? You know, you want to create a lifetime of a mess in your legacy. It doesn't make sense to me. So it's all down to discipline. It's about what do you want? What is your purpose? I love the fact that making sure you choose the right woman, you're going to, regardless of where you are in life, you're going to build so much together. And I feel like a lot of guys who have this mindset that I need more, it's because they're not going out there choosing women of substance. They're choosing women based off pleasure. And that's even as wives. So they feel like, okay, she doesn't really fulfill anything else for me, so let me go and get another one. Let me go and get another one. And they feel like they don't need the woman. Again, each to their own. I'm not here to say what's good or bad. I'm just identifying what I see as a problem in society. And this whole conversation, if you bounce it back to Red Pill and, you know, what it's become, it's a lot of people in that elite position. First of all, that's their conversation. A lot of people who are not there shouldn't even be having this conversation. You can't even handle your own life. So why are you worrying about having multiple women? It don't make sense. You're just gonna just leave recklessness on the ground and just cause more problems in society. And yeah, and it just boils down to men are just not being honest with themselves about the discipline or the lack of discipline that they have, and the whys and the validations that they get from women. So they're using all of this to mask, you know, the traumas that they have. And it's, you know, I was once a certain way, so don't get me wrong. That's why I'm not coming with venom. I'm just identifying there has to be a point in time where you grow up. You just have to grow up, you know. And I'll question any man, like, what do you want in life? Because this is not a winning formula. I'm done.
AJ, Max, is it possible for the man of means to stay faithful
I
in his
think
lifetime?
it's going to be a choice, because I think a man who wants to be faithful sets up his life differently from a man who doesn't. Thinking really about his circle, a lot of these men don't surround themselves with accountability. So if you can't be checked, it's much less likely you're going to be faithful. Because if you're now a powerful guy and you have no one to answer to, you can be led by your pleasure. But if you are a powerful guy, but still there's a level of submission, whether to God or to a group of men who hold you accountable, I think is a very different story. And I think that is often what isn't there. I think when a guy is powerful, he's at the top, and everyone who he interacts with is below him, answers to him. So they can't check him. And as a result of that, it makes faithfulness really hard. So yeah, it's possible, but it's a choice. And I think the life and the actual structure of a man's life who wants to be faithful looks very different.
Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. Well, I think we've done that topic some justice. So we're going to go into a quick dilemma. You are worthy, Lord, to be praised and adored. We have a dilemma, guys. Dilemma. You are worthy, Lord. And since we're talking about cheating, I think it'd be a great segue. That is why your name. He's forevermore. Okay, got a little video for you guys. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, but a little video here. I'm gonna play it for you guys, and yeah, we're gonna have a discussion about our dilemma.
Got mad at me. Now he ain't talking to me because we in the club and he tried to talk to these women, but he married. And I told him, hey, bro, you need to cut that out. He talking, man, why you hating, bro? I ain't hating. I ain't tell you to walk down that aisle. I ain't tell you introduce me to this woman and you go get that ring on your finger. Got me out on this wedding, spending all this money to come to y'all wedding to watch you come in this club and cheat and mess it all up. That's my money I spent on your wedding. I spent my money on your wedding, and I spent a lot of it too. We all in Vegas and all of that, all these casinos, and I'm spending all of my money. Nah, y'all stand together. You the one introduced me to this lady. Got me calling her sis all the time, and all. I'm not gonna be lying in this woman face. Boy, you better go get you a drink. I pay for it. Get you a drink and sit down somewhere, bro, because you ain't finna. Nah, I spent too much money on y'all wedding. My homeboy got mad at me. Now he talking to me.
Dilemma. It's a dilemma, Lord. All right, cool. So a brother told obviously a great story. He said, obviously, listen, look, his boy, was basically saying, that his boy was trying to cheat. Okay. And so I'm asking this killer question right now. When the folks come back, okay, they'll be back soon. But asking this killer question, what would you do if your boy, you're out with them, and they, are letting you know that they got a hookup, they got a line ready to cheat? Okay, all right. It's like their hen. In fact, let me paint the scene. It's stag do, it's hen do. And in fact, there's another video I'm gonna play after. You guys know exactly what video it's gonna be. It's stag do, it's hen do. Okay. And your boy is saying to you, listen, hey, bruh, I got one fine chick, she got a automatic begazil, you know what I mean, compound milk ready, you know what I'm saying, she look good. Okay, all right, bruh, look, I'm gonna hit it, quit it, ain't gonna mention it again, you know what I mean, just kind of send me on my way, to this marriage. Okay, so I'm asking the question, what would you do, or what would you say in such a moment like this? Okay, what would you say in a moment like this? Jay, you had your mic open, so let me go to you first.
First of all, a man who will make that decision on his stag do, if he's going to make that decision, he's already been doing it anyway. That's not anything different than what he's already been doing, because a man who hasn't been doing it is not going to all of a sudden make that decision just because of a stag do. That'll be the worst thing he can do. And funny thing is that when I saw this video today, right, I have friends who straight away came to my head, and they will tell you there's not a time where I've encouraged, whatever they was doing, and they speak to me about everything. They level with me, and they'll all say the energy that I have for them is to tell them, stop what you're doing. Like, do you know what you're doing? If she finds out A, B, C, D, E, even if there's issues with your relationship, doing this isn't going to help. Go and solve your issues if you can. If not, go your separate ways. Like, so to me, I agree with this man. He's straight up. All this time, energy, money we spent. I had to tell one of my friends like the other month, don't make a mockery of God. Because in order to get this woman back, he was praying, he was fasting, speaking to this prophet, that prophet. He was crying for 2-3 months. So why all of a sudden you've now gone back to your old ways? It makes no sense. That's his cross for him to carry. But I can see, I could hear that he was annoyed with me, but he knew I was right. So he wouldn't dare come and try and give me, you're hating energy. I would say, shut up. What do you mean? Like, I'm in your life to tell you the truth. And that's what you appreciate. That's why you respect me. And it's the same energy I want back, by the way. Same energy that I want back. Because as men, we need to hold each other accountable. But properly accountable. You know, no, and I say properly, you know, not by one or two words, but actually saying, bro, I'm going to pull you aside, and as a brother, I do not condone this behavior. That's what we need more of. And we're able to do that because in our own lives, we are also trying to operate in the correct way. So to me, I love what this guy is saying. You know, and I feel like as men, we need to do better, because if any of these ladies find out what's going on, you know, and she wants to cancel the wedding, she has every right to. And a lot of men put themselves in a mess, and I mention again, because they don't have dick discipline. So if a guy makes that decision on the day, he's been doing it anyway. So that's my mindset to it. And so I'll be very worried about whatever marriage he's going to be into, because he's not going to stop it just because he's married. Trust me, he's not going to stop it just because he's married. He may be a bit more evasive. You know, he may not do it all the time, but he will continue to do it. And you know, that's a different conversation anyway. So yeah, bro.
Cool. JR, what are you saying or doing? We know your boys don't cheat, so it's not gonna happen. So, but just hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, you're right. My homies down. Thank you for reminding me and putting it out there too, bro. I'm sure my homies would appreciate it as well. But yeah, no, a lot of what J King said is exactly how I would handle it as well. I would personally, like from the moment I sense or smell that something like that's going to happen on the eve of the wedding as well. Yeah, I've got to ask him, like, bro, like, not only why would you want to do this at this time, but you have to think about how this is going to set the tone for your marriage going forward. Because your missus, if she finds out that you did this, it's over for you. If your family find out that you did this, it's probably over for you. So, you know, you're thinking with the wrong head. But for me personally, it's also an insult to all of us guys who are going to be groomsmen and fellow witnesses to their union. It's a disrespect there as well. Because we are now, by being aware of what's happening, he's trying to make us complicit in his madness. We have to either turn a blind eye and pretend it didn't happen, or go against him and say, look, I'm not going to be a part of this. I might not even have to be a part of your wedding just because of what you're doing now, bro. Because it's not genuine, right? So it's not worth it. Like, it really isn't worth the damage it's going to cause if he was to do that. So that's what I'll be reinforcing to him. It's going to create hella insecurities as well with him as well. Like, he's going to be suspecting his missus doing it and cause all types of mayhem that way as well. So
thank you, boys. I don't know if Max is there. Max, if you're there, I don't know if
Yeah,
you're
I'm here. But just before I go,
Fantastic.
JR, are you saying that if that happened, you tell your boy you're not going to be a groomsman anymore?
yeah, like, listen, if he was on doing it, regardless of what I'm saying, then we'll probably have a conflict where I'm like, you know what, I can't really come to the wedding, you know. Even if I don't say it to him directly in a forceful way, I'm going to tell him what my views are, and then come wedding day, he might not see me that day.
Fair enough. No, I respect that. I think, to me, it all comes down to a man's mentality even before this moment. If he sees his stag as his last night of freedom, that's already a red flag. Because ultimately, if you're thinking, oh, this is my last chance to do up whatever, that's just the wrong mentality to have going into marriage, regardless. So I just think that kind of mentality where you're like, how far can I go? What can I get away with? That's not the kind of partner I'm looking for. That's not the kind of partner I'd encourage my friends to go for. So hopefully these signs would be showing before the stag. But yeah, if that's what they're on, that's mad. It's just really mad. And I want no part of it. And again, similar to JR, I think if and Jay, you have to let them know if it's your boy, if it's someone you're truly close to, I think you have to let them know, like, this is unacceptable. I don't know where you got this idea from, but this is actually nuts. But yeah, if that's the kind of marriage they want, thinking about it, right? If I'm going to have children and they're going to have children and our children are going to be around each other and our families are going to be connected, that's not what I want. I don't want to be connecting my future family with the kind of family you're trying to create. So I think it is really important to actually distance yourself from people who are creating unstable homes. You can warn all you like, but distance is actually the solution.
Totally hear that. Charlene?
Yeah. So basically, everything's been said already, right? But I just wanted to say this. Gentlemen, if you cheat on your woman, we will find out. You know how spiritually gifted women are. We're going to dream you. We're going to feel you. We're going to see you. We're going to see you in the spirit. We're just going to know. And the thing is, right, when we don't have the evidence, what happens is it will come out. It might come out as nagging or complaining or insecurity because we know something is afoot, but we can't put our finger on it. So I'm just saying, if you do decide to cheat on your woman, understand that even before she knows with concrete evidence that you have done it, you've already undermined your relationship because she can feel something is amiss. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
So wait. Okay. So question, just to sweetly twang it a little bit. Are we saying? Okay. So here's a question. Are you saying you're going to tell the bride that this happened, that he cheated? If he decides to cheat, go ahead and cheat it. Would you tell the bride this is happening before the marriage, or are you just going to walk away?
Are you asking me? Or
I'm asking everybody.
Okay, got it.
So anyone can take this if they feel brave enough to say, would you tell the bride? The boy is telling you he's going to cheat. He don't care what you said anymore. You're gonna tell the bride? Look at JR. JR's neck is hot. He's scratching like he got some rat on his neck, bro. What's going on? He's cracking like a crackhead. What's up, bro? Why are you scratching like that, bro? Huh?
Yeah, listen. I would tell him to tell his wife because he's got an obligation to her, but I wouldn't be fastening up in his business, going to his missus, because that's also going to create more of a rift, not only between me and him, but it's not like there will be people that will be saying, listen, why did you get involved in their business? Let them handle it. It's their relationship. Why are you fastening up like that? So yeah, like I wouldn't tell the bride directly, not unless it was a relative of mine. Okay. Then I'm going straight to go and tell her because she needs to not be with this brother. But I'm not gonna, if it's their relationship, I don't know her like that. I only know her through him. I'm gonna tell him he needs to not do it in the first place. And then, if I find out that he did do it, bruh, you're gonna have to tell her at some point.
So Jay, you telling or?
Do you know how many times, a woman has been told that her man is cheating, and she's still stayed with the guy, got back with the guy, and the friend that told is now the enemy.
Now that's a friend for nothing.
Come on.
Better shut up.
For a guy to purposely be out there trying to cheat on his stag, that means he would have cheated many times over. He didn't tell his fiance any of those times. So why would you tell the fiance at the worst possible moment? Especially when the odds are, even if they don't get married the next day or the next week, the odds are they're going to stay together or get back together eventually. Now, where does that leave you? Because come on, are you really saying that your boy's going to say, do you know what, I did wrong, but I appreciate you did? No, he's going to see that you went behind his back and you put him in the worst trouble we can say that he's ever been in. That friendship is not recoverable. And, even though the woman might appreciate, to be honest with you, okay, one of your boys actually told me, but it can easily be twisted. Oh, he has an ulterior motive. He actually likes you. He wants to be with you. And these things have happened, by the way. So to me, it's just not a situation that you can just win in. All you can do is speak to the person that you know. You know, be that voice that they need. Even if they don't want to listen to you, rest in knowing that you gave them the best advice that you can give them, which is to stay faithful, be sensible.
Okay.
You don't want to go into your marriage with this on your head. You know, it puts everyone in a wild situation. So that's where I stand. You know, my concern is my friend and just telling him what I should be telling him instead of encouraging it.
Cool. Ladies, I don't know if you want to answer it. Do you tell the? I guess it's a bit different for you because you guys are not going to be grooms in that sense. But maybe if it was a lady or whatever, would you tell the groom? Would you tell the groom if it was one of your girls? The girls ain't telling us.
Okay, Charlene, I thought you were going to save us, but
I'm waiting for you, babe.
He ain't telling us nothing.
oof, it's really tight. All I can really say is I'd want to know. And I would be annoyed if someone had the opportunity to tell me and didn't. So then going from that, it's such a sticky situation because I think Jay's right. Like, it's an A and B situation. It really is. So it is tight, but at the same time, I think if someone had that information, I'd want to know to be able to make an informed choice. And I feel like people should get the opportunity to make informed choice of if you've missed this real flaming red flag, just be aware. By all means, continue to enter. But it's good for people to know what they're up against. So I actually don't know. This dilemma has stumped me. I'm not too sure.
You know what? I'm gonna say this as well because I saw Naomi say she's not here today.
And that's for the ladies, bro. It's for the ladies, bro.
Oh, go.
Jay, it's for the ladies. Charlene, go for it.
So wait, let me just clarify, yeah? So if my guy friend cheated on his, if my guy friend is getting married and he cheats on his wife to be, the question is, would I tell the wife? Is that the question?
I thought it was reversed. I thought it was.
So break down the question for me, please, again, Coach.
No, well, I originally I said for the guys. I said obviously, you know, your boy is getting married, you know, and he is gonna cheat. You know what I mean? So I guess for you, I just kind of flipped it and said, well, if your girl's getting married, you know what I mean,
Okay.
would you tell the groom, you know, that, you know, your girl's out here, you know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely not. The only people that I would ever tell, well, firstly, I'm gonna light her up. I'm going to machine gun her. Like, what the heck are you doing with your life? And don't involve me in your puppy show because this is nonsense, right? I'm gonna light her up. It's not for me to get involved and tell the guy. Nah. The only scenario where I would say something is if one of my girlfriends has been cheated on. And I'm talking about people in my inner circle. I would tell them this is what's happening. But in the scenario that you laid out, I'm going to light her up. I'm going to expose her to herself.
Okay. I hear you. Jay, just a minute, spend a minute, and then we're going to move it on.
I'm just gonna say that Naomi's not here, but she was on another platform talking about this type of not particularly the marriage, but if a guy's giving you an amazing relationship where you've never had to question anything, would you still want to know, even if he just did it that one, you know, and he was never going to do it again? Would you actually still want to know if it happened to you? That's to the ladies.
Of course. Of course. I mean, this isn't just about what he did. It's about who he is, man. You have to be a certain person with a certain deficit of integrity to do that. And I would want to know if that integrity level within that man that I'm entrusting my life to has changed. So of course I would want to know. How about you, Max?
I need to know. I need to know. Yeah, I need to know who you are, so that I can make an informed decision. I think that's the what empower people to decide. That's what I believe in. Well, that's what I want for myself. So that's why it's a tricky situation, because I just feel like when someone doesn't get real choice, I don't like those situations. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it. All right, we're going to shift it on because it's got another situation to deal with. Because since we're talking obviously about since we're talking obviously about stag do's and that, there's another stag do that was taking some precedence the other day. Our very own 90s Baby podcast was taking the headlines by storm. So we're gonna play a little clip for you guys, and hopefully, you see.
No, I'm mad at you two.
I'm
mad at you two.
Why are you mad at us?
God.
If you see what we were saying,
What was you saying?
I was saying, bro, we don't need to do parties at all.
Mm-hmm.
We need somewhere to go to have fun with Ibo and Shayo.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said. How we ended up that place in Bournemouth, that's where me not being active comes into play.
So when Bournemouth was suggested,
I thought we were going to Spain for time.
so when Bournemouth was suggested,
I thought
and
we
when
were
you
going to
saw
Spain for
Bournemouth
time.
was suggested,
Yeah.
and that was
No, when I saw it, it was booked. When I saw it, it was.
So
it
what
was.
did you
I saw
do?
the itinerary.
So what did you do?
I was, bro, that whole thing was just a mess, yeah. But I was saying, at first, man, we're talking about flights, all this stuff. I said, all right, cool. Then it seemed like you didn't want to take a flight. That's what it
No,
seemed like.
that's-
Well, that's what it
That's
seemed
what was
like.
communicated
That's
to
what
me
was
too.
that's what was
true.
communicated.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you didn't want to, but that's what it seemed like at one point. Then you said you wanted to stay somewhere close to your house at one point. You remember that? Okay, cool. And then your brother suggested Bournemouth. Your brother suggested Bournemouth. And then when he even suggested that, I was like, all right, we should at least be doing an Airbnb.
That's what I thought for time. Like,
But the thing is, remember, your brother also said, oh yeah, I've done this, it's sick. Like he said, I've done it, it's going to be sick. So I'm like, I haven't done it. I'm sure we could have a good time because we've got a funny group here. But I was like, we should have an Airbnb though.
Yeah.
I was stressing on the Airbnb, but it needed support and the group's not that responsive.
Did you send any
So-
links?
Yeah, we all sent, there was links that was
Airbnb
sent.
links.
Yeah, we all sent links. And then it was just like, there's not enough. Like, you know, in a group chat situation, there's a time where you can send something, but you need people to come in and say, all right, yeah, let's do it. It can't just be me saying, yeah, let's do it. And another person say, yeah. So when there's not enough numbers, there's stripped numbers.
So then enough people said yeah to Bournemouth though.
It was just a set. No, I'm not worried about Bournemouth.
I
was
was worried about Bournemouth.
fair enough.
So
but
enough people said yes to Bournemouth for
Yeah,
Bournemouth to be booked.
it was just like, bro, we're running out of options. He's come with an actual option. I'm like, I think we should look, but all right, cool. This one's here. We have to do this now. Let's do Airbnb. All right, cool. Not enough people said yeah to Airbnb. It's like, all right, cool. Let's just stick with the hotel that's actually in this. I was like, all right, whatever. Hands are tied.
That's why I cancelled everyone's speech, bruv. No one's allowed to
Hands are tied.
anymore, bruv.
Hands are tied.
You lot pissed me off, bruv.
But
Just for context, everybody doesn't understand. This is someone's the brother in white in the middle. It's his wedding stag. Oh, sorry, apologies, Max. I just put yours as solid layout. But it's his wedding that is coming up, and they were doing a stag for the mandem. Okay, and the stag for the mandem was meant to be organized, and originally I think he wanted to go Paris. Well, in his mind, he wanted to go Paris.
Right.
And unfortunately, the boys couldn't arrange themselves to get themselves into a suitable stag, and they end up in Bournemouth, which is, I don't know how to explain it. Imagine being, there's no equivalent, for America if you're going to say that, because it's almost like, I guess it's like going from Brooklyn to freaking, Oh no, where's someone that taking an Airbnb in Queens? You ain't going far. I mean, it's far if you're in London, but the equivalent is like saying you're not going far. You know what I mean? You're going from one end of New York to the other end of New York, and it's like, you know what I mean? For a stag do. And so yeah, he was as a he was a undercover pissed, I would say. But it took a massive storm in the UK because the conversation was about male friendships as well. And the ladies were accusing us men of not having great relationships. I personally want to say this to kick off the conversation. I do not believe that men have bad relationships. I do believe that some men do have bad relationships, but maybe I'm being privileged. I haven't had a friendship like this, so I don't know this friendship where, you know what I mean. I don't know this friendship. I know people are inactive, but I also know that when people are booking stuff, they choose the people who are really good at organizing, because not everybody is good at organizing. Don't call me because I won't organize nothing. You'll be in Bournemouth. If I won't be in Bournemouth, you'll be in the same house as you are living in. You understand, right? But I know my other guys. You ask them, they're gonna plan spreadsheet, because they love doing that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure what happened there, but it was a really interesting situation. But do you agree that the ladies are correct in saying that men friendships are poor like that? Do you believe that's the truth, boys? Do you feel that male friendships are as bad as they say? Some of the tweets were really killing us, saying that our relationships are trash and Deben and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. Talk to me.
You know, because of my experiences, I'll piggyback off the back of this here. I think naturally, I guess, depends on your friendship circle. There's a lot more expense that men have to, pay in general, which needs to come into consideration. And from my experience, those of you know, I was married, not married anymore, but I will be married soon to a beautiful queen. And I actually forgot this year, but he told me this on Friday. So when it came to my bachelor, we just went to a particular bar in London. We had a good time, but I'm the type of person, I'm happy with that. I'm fine with that. I didn't want this big event. I don't do strippers, nothing like that. When my boys have had strippers at theirs, I've literally walked out, I've left, or I've just been in the corridor. I don't want to partake in any of that type of stuff, right? But my boy told me is that the original plans was they was going to take me to Spain. And I said, this happened, 2017? This is the first time I'm hearing it in 2023. And he said the reason why it didn't happen is because people started dropping out. My first instinct wasn't, like all of you are just, I didn't care. Like I honestly didn't care, because I get it, because it's an expense and also time. It's a particular evening. Now it's a couple of days. A lot of people don't have that time. A lot of people have to really think, we're already spending for the wedding in general. Now we're going to have to spend to go on holiday somewhere. So you know what I mean? Like, you might say, okay, get some rich friends. Listen, I don't care about all of that stuff. My friends they're doing very well, to be honest with you, at what they're doing. But I just understand with guys, it's kind of different. I see ladies really go hard for each other. You'll go out in general all the time. You'll go abroad for birthdays, etc. Men, we don't do that as much as you in this day and age. Ladies, you're enjoying your money. You're enjoying your unrestricted life. You're really enjoying. Guys, we're just there. We do what we do every once in a while. So I wouldn't put that type of pressure on my boys. Like, I'll say straight, I want something that's simple. You don't have to do too much. I just want you there where we can laugh, joke around, and just chill. Obviously he was expecting the most, so that's on him. He created his own disappointment. But there's certain guys that will love Bournemouth for any of the equivalent, in the UK. For those in the US, could be Brighton, Southend, Manchester, Birmingham, wherever the case may be. I see JR smiling from memories right there. Okay.
Bournemouth is a level, I can't lie to you.
I know. So, yeah, it just depends on what you want, man. But as guys, we have great friends. We just do things slightly differently.
JR, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. Listen, I heard Bournemouth and I was just thinking, I don't know what you would be looking to do up there, to be honest. Bournemouth is not a place I think of ever visiting, to be honest. Nothing there. But they might know something that I don't know about it. But to look at that video and come to the assumption or the conclusion that these men have terrible relationships or they have terrible friendships. Man, it just seems like people just want to talk crap and wish bad on people, you know, for no reason. There was nothing heated about the discussion. There was no back and forth or anything. These guys just looked like they were chilling, talking about a particular event that they were going to, right? Now, if someone's going to be talking about an elaborate stag do or party or whatever it is going to be, and the idea of Spain is mentioned or somewhere tropical where you're going to get away and have a holiday at the same time type thing, then I think here in Bournemouth would be a letdown. You know, if that's where you settled on, then you know, it kind of deflates the mood. So, but you know, these things cost money and they take a lot of preparation as well. And you know, I think because it's a bonding experience in a way, like when you've got your groomsmen and you know you're going to do something like this, it's memorable. Your boys are there to support you on your big day, you know, help prepare you for your big day as well. They're going to give speeches and stuff to talk about their experiences with you and talk you up to everybody and all of that. You know, it's only your tight circle that you tend to have in those type of events. So yeah, I didn't detect this poor relationship, poor friendship, I didn't see none of that. Just sounds like a bunch of guys who were looking for or expecting something based on how the hype was going at the time, and then come to realize Bournemouth wasn't tropical or warm or anything like that. And don't get it twisted, it's expensive to travel domestically in the UK, despite how small the place is. So going to Bournemouth would have cost some peas anyway.
Appreciate that. Charlene, Max, any thoughts to that, to this situation? You know, go for it, Charlene.
I'll be honest and say that I feel like I'm just a fly on the wall right now. So I don't really have anything to say. It's just very interesting. Just watching, well, like somebody said, you know, I don't think it represents all of how male friendships go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm a fly on the wall. I'm eating popcorn, so ignore me.
That's fair. I hear you. Max?
I would just say, I think general perception could be wrong, but is like a lot of male relationships are low maintenance. So I feel like maybe his expectation, I don't know, because it might have been valid. It might have been that he's actually done organized stags for other people, and he could be the one person in the group who puts in loads of effort. So he was thinking when it was his turn, they were going to kill it, and then he was like, Bournemouth, like what? So I don't know, maybe it is justified. I don't know, enough of the context, but yeah, I don't think it's specific to males having bad or trash relationships. I just think that are people used to investing in relationships anymore? I think sometimes people don't. They don't invest much. And I think if you don't expect much, or if it's not that deep, you're not often disappointed. But if you invest a lot, if you're a giver, and if you have these big dreams for friendships, then oftentimes you will find yourself pretty disappointed, and stuff like that will hit hard. And it won't just be like, oh, it was Bournemouth, they made an effort. It'll be like, oh, the principal, them ones where you're like, oh, but the principal is that, and you feel like really pained. So yeah, he might be justified in his pain. And if he wanted more, and it was his brother that suggested it, I don't know, because them ones there can make you feel like, did anyone listen to me? He might be really deep in it for real. So I don't know. I don't want to just minimize it and be like, oh, well, at least they tried something, because again, he might be justified in his pain.
Thank you for that, Max. I mean, he did put out a couple of tweets. And he said he was hurt, but I don't think he was hurt by the fact the fact that the situation happened and the fact that he's in Bournemouth and not in Paris. I mean, listen, personally, yeah, you know, the room. Did you guys see the picture for the room that apparently they were in?
3 beds.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
That's awful, though. That's awful. That
No matter-
is,
Yo, hey, that room was absolutely disgraceful. I'm sorry. I thought that they were just taking a mick. I honestly think they're taking a mick. I just can't think to myself that is the situation. I don't know if I can show you because they actually deleted the tweets. But let me. I think I've got a little picture here. Let me just show you guys. So this is the 3 beds that they ended up getting into.
No, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
That's so rude.
That might as well be one big bed, bruv.
Oh,
No, it probably is. Look at the headboard in the back. It probably is one bed.
That wasn't even going to the bed.
If you roll over 2 times, you're sleeping next to your boy. Like you're really sleeping
Bruh.
next to him. Ooh.
What is that? That's ridiculous.
Oh wow.
You definitely hate your boy if that's what you did to him, because that is hate. I'm sorry, that's a hate crime. What is that? You couldn't even order an Airbnb with 3 separate rooms. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't care whose fault it is, but that's ridiculous.
My eyes are watering. Oh my god. Ooh. Ooh, you didn't get a double bed, you got a triple bed. Boy.
Triple bed, you know.
Ooh.
Triple bed, you know. Even Travelodge would give you a better room than this. Family room would have given him more room. Like, yo, like they must have gone to Milton Keynes. Listen, Milton Keynes got a nice hotel there. You could have got yourself a nice little family room. You would have been a nice and south, brothers. The ensuite. Y'all don't even play with me.
that's terrible.
Brother, that is ridiculous. So yeah, this is not even about money. This is just disrespect for me personally. I think that's what
Exactly.
it comes down to. So this is not even money, it's disrespect, right? So there's no reason why they should be in that room. And listen, I'm not a great planner, but at least I could have booked a better room than that. I could have booked you 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have to put you in a space where you know this is what you're left with. Now, so that is a political situation. But I definitely don't feel like, I think, you know, maybe again I've been privileged. I don't have male friendships that are so bad like this. You know what I mean? And maybe as well because I'm a bit more low maintenance, like Jay is as well. My stag do listen, brother. Let's go have some mandem chill night, play some FIFA. You know, if you don't want to drink, you can drink. I don't really drink, so it's not my thing. But let's get some food, a pizza, or something, and let's chill and vibe, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's my thing. You get me? So, you know, I'm not big on mad things. You know what I'm saying? It's just not me. But other people might be. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you say you want to go Paris, then let's work it out and let's go to Paris. And those who can come, and those who can't come. Do you know what I mean? But you gotta make sure that's what you actually said you wanted. Like, make sure that's, bro, I want Paris. That's what I'm looking for my stag do. Don't say it as in a passing comment, like, you know, I would like to go Paris. No, I want to go Paris. That's why I want to go. Then we all know Negro, he said Paris. If you can make it, boys, you can't make it. Those who can make it, make it. Do you know what I mean? And you go with it, you know? But yeah, no, it was, you know, it'd be like that, you know? So yeah, it was definitely interesting. But again, like I said, I don't have a friendship group that will do me dirty like this. Personally, again, I don't know if it is a regular thing that men do this like this. I think this might be one of those odd things again that, you know, has happened, and you know, it's unfortunate, but I don't think that's a regular thing for us as men. But I may be wrong, you know. I may be wrong. Whew, that room finished me off. It did. All right, cool.
That sweet me, man.
Yeah.
That sweet me so much.
Yeah,
That
it did. It
sweet
sweetened me too.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, yeah, it sweetened me. I just think to myself, planning anything in a group is difficult because you need somebody, and I think this is a real conversation to have. Planning anything in a group is real difficult. I remember, I have a friend who, him and his wife are just amazing at planning. Yeah, their whole wedding for South Africa last year. Their man planned it like 6 months in advance. They said, I still got the book. I still got the pamphlet, the booklet that they produced to let us know how everything's gonna go down. Like you ain't gonna get that from me. You know what I'm saying? You might get a last minute invitation. You wanna go? You wanna go essay? Like they planned everything, set up a payment plan. Said, hey guys, look, it's gonna cost 1,000. This here's a payment plan. It was done. Actually, it was done even 12 months now. I think 8 months or almost 12 months in advance. This is going to be a payment plan to pay up until April. You need to pay this amount of money. Here's account numbers. They gave us a booklet. We met, I think, 3 times in the course of the year. We met in Northampton, in the middle of London, between London and Birmingham. So some people were coming from London, some people coming from Birmingham. It was the easiest for people to meet at that area, location. Met there. We did games. We did chill. We talked. We discussed what the plan was going to be for the wedding. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything was pretty much set. You know what I mean? And it was a smooth ride. Got to SA. We did the wedding. We had to take out the dance because I think we tried to do a dance, but it wasn't really working. That wasn't working for me, and I wasn't gonna do a bad dance. So but other than that, it was well prepped. Why? Because he's a well prepped person. You know what I mean? Like if you want things done, you have to choose people that are well preppy. Men or women. You know what I mean? If they don't know how to organize, it's always going to be hard to do it. Both men and women, I think, suffer in this area. You ask anybody gonna go on a girl's holiday, you see it all the time, and you see man them go on holiday too. But you see a lot of people saying, "I did try to organize it, it didn't work." People are saying they want to go and do it, and they don't end up doing it. The reality is, someone needs to take charge of it and then be on top of it all the time and be like, "Hey, where we at? Here's the deadline. This is what we're doing." You know what I mean? By the way, guys, I'm thinking I might have a little shindig, for my birthday. We'll see what happens, and I'll let you know. You know what I mean? I might do a shindig. You know what I mean? Although you two are taken, so yeah, no. So so yeah, I think it takes an organizing person to do it as well. But that's last of our topics. Any last words on this topic here about friendship groups and group organizations?
I'll just say something like that usually happens because no one makes, but let's say, I want to say people are not in support of the original decisions. So that's a last minute decision right there to go in Bournemouth and have that type of, bedroom. And I think it actually makes more sense. In fact, I think ladies do a brilliant job in terms of organizing things in advance. But usually it's the person whose birthday it is or whose hen night it's going to be that will say, listen, I'm going to get married in 8 months' time, 6 months' time. All I'm saying to you is I want to go here. I'm leaving it up to you. And then at that point, that's when they sort it out. I think right now, that's probably the best way to do it. Because when it comes to, a lot of guys, not all guys, the last minute nature of things equates to this, and, people will start dropping out the closer it gets because of money. Someone asked me the question, okay, what do you mean guys spend more? I'm going to say at least in my friendship group, they earn more money than the wives that they have. So there's a lot more money that they are giving out. So, and as the man, they have to think more carefully about what they're spending so they're not short. They can't just spend anyhow and then spend it on the bachelor. And the wife's not going to have that. So they have to be a bit more frugal, a bit more responsible with, what they're doing. And guys, if you're going on a stag on holiday, you're going to party. You're not going to sightsee. You're going to spend money. You're going to party. You're going to enjoy. So there's a big difference. There's a big difference in doing that than what a lot of ladies go and do. A lot of ladies like to chill, sunbathe, go and see ABC and just enjoy it. And, I'm not saying ladies don't like to party, but there is a difference in our natural habit. That's where I stand. That's why you have to really look at your friendship group. So if you want to go and do something like that, make sure the people that like to party are on it because they're the ones that's going to pay. They're the ones going to be up front. If you're trying to incorporate people who are not really like that and expect them to be like that just because it's your day, you're going to be disappointed. Like that's a fast track to be disappointed. So you have to know your friends. You might have to say, okay, this group of friends I'm going to go abroad with. The other group of friends I'm going to do something here with. Some people do that. That's a quick solution.
Love that. Listen, before we go, actually, listen, you guys sent it into the group chat, so frick it, we're here. So since you guys put in the group chat, we're gonna talk about it because the new video dropped, and shout out to you guys. So let's watch the video and quickly dissect because he's a Mazaline. Okay, all right. So we got apparently the new video dropped on just a couple of hours ago. So a couple of hours ago, 49 minutes ago. So we're giving you live. I'm just gonna drop this little interview snippet.
How many women he actually cheated on you with? Was
As
there
a
ever
whole
time
in
that-
marriage?
in, out, or whatever? Was there ever a moment that y'all had a come to Jesus moment where he sat down and said, listen, to my knowledge, this is how many women I've slept with?
Okay, so part of the recovery process where we were in the program for infidelity and all that is discovery. And in discovery, it's like we've trickled out a lot of information. Now it's time to go to level 0, ground zero, they call it. And so he had to make a list. And so he made a list of women, so everything that he could recollect. And there was nearly 100 women on there. And so
You talking about the 100? Where you going back
that he
to?
wrote on the list. Now
You talking about you talking about in his lifetime, or you talking about while y'all were dealing with each other?
okay, so we have to define these things. So I did not do a good job at defining if it was a lifetime of his lifetime or if it was specific to just
Well, heck, he been dating you since he was 19.
right.
So
So in my mind, to me, that's a lifetime, right?
Yeah,
In my
yeah.
mind. So I'm thinking at least since we have met.
did you ever find out how many women he actually cheated on you with?
As
Was there
a
ever
whole-
time?
Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord. Jesus.
Jesus is Lord. 100. That's a lot of women. What's your guys' thoughts? 100 women potentially almost he slept with. I mean, he clearing house. He's clearing house. Okay. All right. He is prolific. Okay. 100. Max, why are you looking at me that for? Talk to me. She said,
No, I'm still processing. Please don't start here. I can't even comprehend right now.
yes, they are.
Well, if it's 100, he's got what, 72,900 left. Because it would have surprised me if he started running through all of his audience, all of his fans too.
You're actually
But-
awful.
So for her to, I mean, if she sat down with him and had that conversation very early on, considering how young they were when they got together, right? And that was the figure he gave, I would guarantee that it significantly increased during their marriage. And that, like you said, Coach, that's one of the points where she could have sat down and said, what, 100? Nah, I'm out. I can't deal with that. Right?
Mhm.
But she chose to stay married, and now they have 2 kids, and now they're exes. So the writing was probably on the wall from a lot earlier than, before he started making videos and all that. He's probably doing it the whole time that they were dating and everything. She was just an option. So what we haven't heard is a time where he wasn't linking other girls. We haven't established a time frame when that ever stopped. So in my opinion, it probably didn't stop.
Mm. I mean, 100 bodies is not even that bad, to be honest. I thought it'd be more, personally. Yeah, I mean, I thought it'd be more. I mean, it's easy to rack up 100, I'm telling you, it's easy. I used to think to myself, it's wild, but it's easy to rack up 100 to saying, like,
But he had them on
I'm just saying.
rotation. That's just the number of people,
That's
not
my-
the amount of times. Do you know what I mean?
I
Nah,
get
that's
you,
hard.
but
I'm sorry.
no,
that's
but
hard.
bro, listen, no, it's only hard if you don't have access. It's very easy if you have access. You understand? So
Yeah.
like,
But he
just
shouldn't
deep
have
it.
access. He shouldn't have access because he married, right? That should be your automatic preventative measure right there.
For 9 years he wasn't. So for 9 years he wasn't. For 9 years he was on and off. So that maybe 70 bodies was coming then, and maybe 30 in the marriage. You know what I'm saying? But I think the majority of his work was done, you know, probably college time. Maybe he probably hit a good 20 in his college time, and then, you know, being a sports, you know, star and stuff. And, you know, when they went on a break, and then, you know, as a marriage progressed, you know, he's growing in popularity. My thing is this: 100 bodies, and it took this long for it to come out. That's strange. 100 bodies, and it took this long to come out. That's a bit strange. That's a lot of quiet bodies. So I don't know. Jay, I said, yeah, Jay, 100 bodies. What are you telling me?
I mean, on Instagram page, maybe last year before, I actually went through his Instagram page, and no, a couple of years ago, and this is how I found out he was married, because there was a post all the way deep down, and I thought, who's this person? And when I saw, okay, Derrick Jaxon, okay, what's going on? When I looked at her, I was surprised, because the image of the type of woman, first of all, I thought it was single anyway, but the image that I had in my mind of the type of woman he would go for was not how she looked at the time. And I was worried, because I thought, okay, this guy, what he's doing, the types of women that are going to come his way and throw themselves at him, I don't know what decision he's going to make. So I agree with you. 100 bodies while you're in a relationship with someone / then eventually married is crazy in the first place. That's reckless behavior. However, when you have ladies who are, first of all, they're going to throw themselves at you because of who you are. Secondly, you're speaking to these women emotionally. You're speaking to their heart. Come on. If you're a good-looking guy, you know what that does?
It does. Panties will just be...
Oh, gosh. I wish I had someone like you.
Mm-hmm.
You.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So what do you think happens? You know, there's guys who take advantage of this. That's why I say you have to have that discipline. Because, by the way, to be able to have that grace for people and heal them, that's something special in the first place, but you can't misuse it. You can't misuse it to sleep with people. You know, you can't misuse it to get temporary pleasure. While you've got your wife at home who you're not even catering towards emotionally, that's wild to me. Absolutely wild. And yeah, man, that's it, bro. 100 bodies. In this day and age, yeah, people have a lot, but while you're in a committed relationship, while you're in a committed, well, you're supposed to be committed because you're married, that's crazy. My thing is, if this is who you are, say that from the beginning. Give people a choice. And this is what goes to me. I just don't think at 19 they truly knew themselves. They didn't know who they were. So they just went with whatever was easy. Him, it was easy to, I'm this guy who gets a lot of women who's popular, so I'm going to run with that. That's how I get my validation. With her, she didn't know who she was, but her validation came from him. And I don't want to lose it, so I'm going to chase it. That was easy. Now she knows who she is. Derrick, we don't know. Until he speaks, we don't know what's going on with him. But now she knows who she is. You know, a lot of people who have her background don't know who they are. Hence why they seek validation. They're people pleasing. They're doing things that are just not healthy. That don't help them. And yeah, to me, I don't even care about Derrick too much. I just care about Danae's healing and her getting to a place where, you know, she can truly live again. Because this is, yeah. Come on. How many years of this? It's ridiculous.
I heard this. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 100. Stop. Charlene, talk to me.
I was like you, Matt. I was staggered. I was stymied. I was flabbergasted. I was silenced. But you know what? This is clearly where he gets it from. Meaning, he cleaned up sexually and still is, and then he cleaned up financially. So really, he knows broken women like the back of his hand.
Yeah.
And I really believe that in order for you to keep doing that behavior, for him to keep doing that behavior, it feeds this image of power, of being desirable, being able to manipulate women, or not needing to manipulate certain women to come to get into bed with you. It feeds the ego, man. And when I listen to Derrick Jaxon speak, like earlier today, I revisited that video of when he was holding hands with Danae and talking about the fact that he's cheated, right? And he's referring to himself in the third person. And he's he's saying, yes, Derrick Jaxon cheated. I'm just like, when I hear that third person, I'm just like, you really consider yourself as Derrick Jaxon, the image, it's a persona. And I think that he's lost in his own source. I really do. But I'm not gonna digress too much. But it's working for him, clearly. Like I said, he cleaned up sexually and he still is. He's cleaning up financially and he still is. And what are you gonna do? What can you say? Seriously.
Hey, like I said, it's mad out there, a man of means. That's what I told you, it's easy out there. It's a man of means out there, but the thing is, he when he was doing the videos, like you guys, I was so surprised when I found out he was married. I said, in what world was he married? You know what I mean? When I saw the wife, I said, wait. Well, I thought Derrick Jaxon was single the whole entire time. You know what I mean? Because I never really heard him mention his wife in his videos. You know what I'm saying? Anything like that. So I was so confused that he had a wife. So that was as confused as you guys. And I'm guessing obviously that also helped as well in terms of the ladies who got involved in. But let me just be real with you guys. Let me be real with you. You see, the ladies are also about the man and their behavior. These women don't give a host. They don't care if we're married. They don't care if we're together with our girlfriend. They don't care. If you have a platform and you are a star, I'm telling you now, you can bag 100 easy. And they will all know you're married and with your wife and because there's someone out there who's broken enough that wants to celebrate taking you from your girlfriend or your wife, or celebrate the fact that, you know what? Do you know who I slept with? So, you know what I mean? So he can, if he's devious enough, he can clean up, because there was always going to be a woman that's going to be like, yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind. Look, I'm just trying to get mines. You know what I mean? Like, you're not my man. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, some of them would have been sweet talked. Some of them might have been manipulated. I can almost guarantee a majority of these people were not sweet talked. Were not manipulated into anything. They knew exactly what they came for. They came and collected him. It's a scalp on a trophy on their cabinet. Okay, all right. Because women are just as egotistical as we as men are. Okay, all right. When it comes to those kind of things, they like to show people or themselves that they got it like that. Before you know it, all they're saying is that he can't stay away. I got that fire thing. I said, all right, cool. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So that's what I said. That it makes sense. It don't make sense why he had 100. If he slept with 100 women over the course of longer than 9 years and then being married, the fact that it's taken this long is testament to the fact that some people were just enjoying the fruits of labor behind the scenes, because it is far too long for him to be in a relationship and married and people not to have seen, you know what I mean? Of course, he hit it quite well on social media, but it just reminds me of that meme with Damson Idris says bodies. Yeah, there's just plenty of bodies going around, so any other thoughts on Derrick Jaxon and his 100 concubines that he's conquered?
Yeah. Listen, you have to realize that, like you said, these women that were sleeping with him, a lot of them knew he was married. Some of them were even going to the marital home, so where he had pictures up and all of that. All right. So he was flying them into his yard. Yeah. He was flying them into his yard certain time when his wife was out of town with the kids and doing things with them there. You feel what I'm saying? So there is a level of attraction, because as we hear in a lot of these dating shows, podcasts, and the chit chat in the community, if a man has status and power, then it's one of the most attractive qualities that women look for these days. So if that status, that power that he has, that influence, I should say, instead of power, that influence, then they couldn't give a hoots about his marital status, or if he's got gyal, or if he's even got 3-4 gyal on rotation. They don't care. They're still going to make a move because they want to get their piece of that attention that he is giving to others, right? And it makes them feel a certain type of way, probably because it's coming from someone who has the influence he has. So it's unfortunately, it's one of those things where right now, if the priority is to get with someone who has a level of status, influence, money, wealth, all those things, rather than who he is as a person, then there are going to be tons of Derrick Jaxons out there, and there'll be tons of women willing to sleep with them too. So that's why Jay's correct. That discipline is important. As a man, doesn't matter how much status you have, doesn't really matter how much money you make. You're in charge of your body and who you give your seed to. And you have to be responsible with it to make yourself exclusive enough to not get caught up in those type of entanglements.
Just jumping
Guess
in
what,
here,
Max?
I would say like one thing that's interesting. Not all men are equal to women, and I think that Derrick Jaxon has a lot of currency, a lot of different types of currencies. He is attractive, he is powerful, he's influential, he is unavailable. He was into sports. He had all those different currencies, so he is, being able to be so desirable, right? And I think one thing that stood out to me is that Danae did say when she was younger, she tried to be into sports to win her dad's affection. So I thought it was interesting that she went for someone that was into sports later on. And just all the different things that he probably validated in her, and why she was able to effectively be his, it sounded like she was almost like the PA behind the scenes for all of his YouTube and stuff, because she said one time what was it? She said he tried to sneak one email into the business thing, and she was like, I'm the one that manages that account. So I don't know. I know that might suggest to people that she was complicit, but I really don't like putting that on her. Even when she used the word like I was a willing participant, I hear it, but I don't. So yeah, I just I don't know. there's a part of that I'm just like, how. Yeah, well, we'll get into that another time. But yeah, my point effectively is, okay, just stop.
No,
My
go into
point
it now, Max. Go into it now.
I feel like this idea of being a willing participant, are we requiring people to be informed or not as to what they're doing, or like aware or not? Or is the concept of being aware not part of being, is that not important? So are we saying that she doesn't need to be aware of like her trauma and her past, and that regardless of those things, she can still be willing? Because if you're saying that, then fine, I understand that concept of being a willing participant. But I just think if you take into account all of like the trauma and stuff, how much consent and acknowledgement and enlightenment is someone having when they're making a decision? So it's not a point on accountability. It's just a point about technicalities and something about that makes me really uncomfortable. But yeah, those are all side points. The main point was about Derrick Jaxon and being really desirable, and the fact that he validated her in many ways, and that's probably why she was so complicit.
Yes, go for it, Charlie. I think you opened your mic earlier on. What did you want to say?
Oh, no. That was a mistake.
Oh, okay. Well, I hear you, Max. I think, I mean, do we then apply that same grace to the man as well and say, well, he was 19 when he started this whole game, and he wasn't really sure what he was doing. He was still testing out the waters. His trauma informed him on how to get what he wants, even at the cost of somebody else. I don't know if I think we can talk about understanding, but I think we still got to talk about the fact that even though you weren't necessarily informed, it's like saying I wasn't informed about going through the red light. You still gonna get a ticket. It is what it is. I mean, the judge can grant
linking it to
leniency.
accountability. Yeah, I'm not linking it to accountability, but I'm just saying that language of willing participant I think is very interesting. I just think it's interesting. And
Was
I
she not willing?
wonder, and that's what I'm saying. It comes down to your understanding of who is willing, and can she be willing, not understanding herself. That it's just a question. You know, people can fall on different sides of it, and I think separate that from accountability. But that concept of willing, can you be willing without understanding? That's what my question.
I'll jump off there. I believe you can be willing, but still have a lack of boundaries, which makes you more, you know, complicit in whatever decisions you're going to make and whatever you're going to receive from it. And that's what she said that she had. She just purely had a lack of boundaries. Now, you mentioned the validation, and it's because of what she was getting from it. So she was complicit as long as she got what she wanted, which I guess was how many minutes of his time. And this is where we now go to the ladies who were engaged with him. I mean, you can imagine they got their, based on what a lot of them would have gone through, not all of them, some of them would have just been normal people. You know, they would have got a validation from engaging with him, knowing the situation, because they would have felt, you know, I feel like a lot of ladies want to feel chosen, not just by the man that they want, but the type of man that they feel who fits this build, who's going to treat them a certain way. Okay, he does exist. Yeah, he's married, but he does exist. And he wants to, you know, make me feel ABC in this particular moment. So a lot of women want to feel chosen in those moments. And especially if a woman has been the good one all her life, it's quite easy for a lot of ladies in that moment to be like, I don't want to be the good one today. I just want what I want. Tomorrow's another day. It happens a lot. So I think Kojo asked the question earlier on, why did it take a long time to come out? Because some of these ladies weren't interested in trying to create a story. They just wanted what they wanted in the moment for what they was going to get from it. That's it. And it was enough for them. You know, not a lot of these ladies would have been angry about it because they knew the situation, but there would have been some who generally know, I want you, and however he dealt with it is however he dealt with it. But again, to go back to Denai Jackson, I mean, yeah, I take her words for what they are. Like she knew what she was doing, but the consequence of it wasn't enough to, you know, just the consequences, it wasn't enough for her to stop. She didn't have those boundaries there. Now she has them, but she didn't have them there at the time. You know, we have to always give just due to emotions and the emotional manipulation that we put on ourselves because of what we've been through. And we can convince ourselves of anything. Like the amount of times I've had to speak to ladies about this same scenario of, why do you keep going back to this? And they tend to get angry with themselves after the fact because they always knew. They always knew. But there was something that kept on putting themselves in this situation. And once they reach a point of realizing, I can't keep doing this anymore, that's when true accountability comes, and they tend to be angry at themselves and then have to go through a stage of forgiving themselves because of it. So when someone says they're complicit, always believe them because they knew. They always knew. Just now they're ready to do something about it.
It's big. It's big. I really agree with what you're saying there, Jay. And at the same time, I'm feeling my sister as well, Max, because you don't know what you don't know. But I do believe that you are still responsible for your choices, even when you don't know what you're choosing. And at the same time, I don't believe that she is to blame. And so this whole thing about blame versus responsibility, it can get sticky, it can get a bit tricky. But I agree with what you're saying there, Jay, that sometimes we don't have enough presence within ourselves to admit what we do know. Sometimes we're so caught up in what we are doing, and we're not still enough to say, this isn't working for me, and this is the reason why. We don't have the presence of mind all the time. And sometimes that comes with time. Sometimes it comes with reflection. Like when I was doing those things, I had a certain level of understanding, but now that I've reflected on it, my goodness, I should not have been in that scenario at all. So I just think in every case, you need to, like what Jay was saying, you need to forgive yourself and give yourself grace. because when you do know better, you do better. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes that takes time.
You know what's interesting? You know, this reminds me of the gospel, you know, and I'll tell you why it reminds me of the gospel. Because there are going to be people in heaven, or I should say in the line of judgment, who'll be like, if I knew, I would have just given my life to you, Jesus. I promise you. You know, I would have given my life over. And they'll be like, well, there were signs, there were conversations, you did see some things, but you decided you chose something different, right? And I think that goes to your point, Max, almost in the same sense. It's almost like if you didn't necessarily know the full extent, because I think it's about knowing the full extent, right? Because I think as humans, we have instinct, but we also have intuition. And sometimes that informs us that something's not right for us. We're being hurt in the moment. It's not good. It doesn't make me feel good. But we get stuck in the loop of doing the same thing because we don't have maybe necessarily enough information or new information to believe that we have a choice. And I think that goes to what the gospel almost presents us to, because when you become a Christian, you become born again, it presents choice. That's the only difference. The line becomes really clear now about you have choice. Whereas beforehand, before Christ, yeah, you have choice, but you know, I'm just doing what I do. Now, when you come a born again Christian, it's like you can see the choice between the two. I generally can see the line now between me choosing me and me choosing your way, God. Right? You can almost kind of see that clear choice now. Now, whether you choose to do the good, whether you choose to do what God has asked you to do in that moment, is a different conversation. But it does go back to your point that sometimes, even when you, like, for instance, when you first become a Christian and you're doing the same things over and over again, you're getting frustrated, and you're asking yourself that question: why do I keep doing what I'm doing? And you're getting frustrated. Sometimes you haven't got enough knowledge to be able to change what you're doing, right? But you're still, I guess, that in some sense, a willing participant, right? Even though you don't want to do what you're doing, you know. And I think that's what Paul was even saying in Romans, what you're talking about, Romans. I think it's Romans 7, where he talks about, you know, that the laws of my members, you know, and there's things that I don't want to do, that I end up doing, you know. So I think that does remind me of the gospel in that instance as well. So I see what you're coming to in terms of conundrum, in that aspect. I think, you know, it is unfortunate that she hadn't got the knowledge of the game in terms of being able to protect herself. And that's an unfortunate thing that's happened. But I'll say this was the last point. There's a lot of times where you're doing something and you don't want to do it, but you've chosen to do something that you shouldn't do. And that's what makes you the willing participant. You know what I mean? And that's what makes you the willing participant. Like, you know, there's times where I want to do something else and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Now, had I known the effects and the consequences, the full depth of it, maybe I wouldn't have done what I did. But shoot, I'm here in it and I'm making a choice. So, but I like your question. Actually, it's worth thinking about. Go for it, Max.
Yeah, it's simply that. It's simply more having a discussion about desire and willpower. It's not to divorce accountability and to say, oh no, we shouldn't hold her accountable. She didn't really choose this. That's actually not the discussion. We're just talking about willpower and desire. And when you find yourself doing something, you know, to be wrong. When I'm not taking that away from, we're not talking about right or wrong, talking about desire and willpower. And in essence, it has kind of a spiritual side to it. So yeah, that's kind of why the discussion shifted that way. But that's just what's in my mind when I hear someone saying willing participant and thinking of will and like the depths of will. But yeah, I take everyone's point.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I like it. Yeah, go for it. It's good thought, actually.
Do you know what, Max? Thanks for that. And I actually agree with that, right, in terms of the willpower. But it still goes hand in hand with what I was saying, whereas you know the right thing to do, but at that moment in time, you're not strong enough to actually walk away from it or do the right thing. And many years ago, when I came across her, you know, I looked at her, and I guess you can say I stereotyped her straight away. Like, okay, you just like a church auntie, or
Very much.
You're this particular. No one clocks what you said.
What did he say?
Type
He's a
of,
troublemaker, you know. What did he say?
I said she dressed like a church auntie, and Cole just said very much, right? So what I did then, I stereotyped what type of Christian she might be. So when now we're looking at the things that she said, especially when everything came out there, and how they were blaming the enemy all the time, that kind of helped me to understand what I see in church anyway. Whereas some people throw themselves so much into the faith, so much into church, not because of God, not because of Jesus, but to get us far away from the truth of what they need to deal with. So they have to offload that. They have to, you know, almost like pretend it doesn't exist. That's why for me now, like I say, she surprised me, not Derrick. She surprised me because she was speaking about it from a real point of view. Derrick did this. He did this. She no longer was just trying to blame the enemy as she was doing before. Don't get me wrong, the enemy does what the enemy does. No one is saying the enemy didn't speak in his ear, etc. But there's a level of accountability that we need to not only have for ourselves, but that we need to hold someone to, even if they don't want to take it. That's irrelevant. And I feel like that's powerful, because to me that alleviates her Christianity. And what that means is, in this situation, you don't know if she was angry at God. You know, she might talk about it. You don't know how she felt when it comes to faith because of the situation. Trying for all these years to feel chosen, to feel loved, and for this man to continue doing what he's doing. You don't know what's going on. I don't think there's enough time in the interview for her even to go through everything. Probably need about 2 weeks. You know what I mean? For her to really go down to detail. But you just don't know. So to me, this is what kind of, you know, now she's able to be free from it. She is able to be free and be herself and truly find what she loves, truly find what loves her. And I can see the difference. No one knew that she had this great personality, that she was this jokester, you know, that she was this type of person. Like no one knew she could stand on her own 2 feet and do what she did. She don't look like someone that was in the background. No one knew. So you have to think, whoa, hold on a minute. What, you know, did no one really see the side of her because Derrick was so big? Did he hold her back? Or did she feel that she was doing the right thing in order to not sabotage what she felt she was getting? There's so much that we can go to here. We ain't got enough time, but yeah, I just think it's you know, that's where it goes back to being complicit. She just didn't want to sever the attachment. That's how I see it. She wasn't strong enough to do that. Couldn't see her life without that. You know, and I feel like it just came to a point where the public embarrassment for a lot of people is what tips it over the edge. Most women will still stay with a guy who cheats. You know, that's kind of what the statistics say. So the public embarrassment is what tipped over the edge, and he wasn't stopping what he was doing. You know, even when he was separated, he was still out there. He was still doing the most. So, you know what I mean? So she had to make a decision. And to me, she chose to love herself. I mean, I think it was Derrick that filed for divorce, not because she didn't want to do it, but because he said, this is what I'm doing anyway. But ultimately, she's now chose to love herself and say, do you know what? Let me be out there. Let me share. And let me be honest that this is just what I went through. Christians, I need help. Stand with me. That's how I see it.
What's that? No, I think Max, you actually really kind of open up a good question here, because it does make me think of also the philosophy also, because even behind quote unquote Christians, you know, you talk about predeterminism versus you know, God's sovereignty versus free will versus determinism. You know what I mean? When you look at it as well, like, are we predisposed to certain decision making? Is there such thing as that? You know, is there you know, does one actually have free will? You know what I mean? Does that actually exist? You know, you almost open that can of worms when you ask the question about the will of the individual person, because in some sense, if she didn't have the knowledge, could she actually change? But then, you know, that then goes out into that philosophical question. in the sense of what is free will, and is someone already determined in some of their choices that they make, etc. There's also in betweens of that as well. But yeah, it made me think of that particular argument in that sense. But maybe we can have a discussion about that another time, about that philosophy, because that's a deep one right there. But maybe think, Precious, you haven't contributed yet. Welcome to the show. I know we're almost ending, but we were just talking about Derrick Jaxon. I don't know if you saw the latest video, or the last two even, I should say. The first one, that was a clip of Derrick Jaxons wife, Derrick Jaxon, talking about her experience with Mr. Jackson and her upbringing. And then the second one just recently dropped about an hour ago, talking about Derrick Jaxon has slept with 100 women. Yeah, I mean, he's prolific. He is going through them. But then the question was asked whether our good sister Derrick Jaxon, was she a willing participant? She said she was a willing participant, and Matt's kind of brought up a good kind of, I guess, philosophy of the question: can you really be a willing participant if you don't know, or you're not fully informed of the I guess the choices you're making? If you don't have all the information at hand, can you be a willing participant per se? So
do you know what I would say? Because when, for example, if you were going to do like a psychological piece of research, you would have to get approval and consent of the participants within the experiment. So they may not know all of it, but they have to know enough to have enough consent to participate in. So I think I kind of align maybe more with Max of saying, if you don't have all the facts with you that are imperative to whatever it is that you're taking part of, that you're always going to be at a disadvantage of knowing the full truth. So now, if you knew the full truth and then then that's a different situation. But if you don't know the full truth, you can't really be a complete, in the sense of it, a willing participant, I think. I think maybe you could be a bit complicit, because maybe if you know enough to have suspicions, but maybe you just don't know enough to be able to say concretely, like, I know that he's out there doing whatever he's doing. But I think for me in general, it kind of reminds you how difficult relationships are, and how if you go into them with maybe a lack of self-awareness of certain things, it makes it even more difficult. If you're going into a relationship in a very vulnerable position with somebody who's obviously very willing to manipulate the situation, there's so many things that you are at victim to. And it's important to say that just because you're the victim doesn't mean there isn't areas that you can learn from or take some form of accountability. But I think sometimes people like to force accountability on victims, and it makes it seem like now you're victim blaming. I think in this situation, she was definitely the vulnerable person in the situation, and I think some of the vulnerabilities have been instilled because of the culture, the church culture, rather than the actual faith of believing in God and following God. But it's the culture of church which can be quite harmful, because church culture can sometimes be culty. So it's a situation where you have to really be careful about what kind of people are instilling religious information to you, and being able to have different perspectives can help you think in a balanced way, rather than sort of thinking, okay, I have to endure everything. I mean, if the 10 commandments and saying thou shalt not cheat on my wife, feel like at that point you've got enough space to say, let me just get a divorce and leave, because the person is doing a whole sin against you, and you're like, it's all right. 100 women? Come on. This is Love Island numbers now. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about Love Island numbers. 100 women. How much time do you have? how much time do you have? So, all jokes aside, my heart goes out to her. I'm happy that she seems to be in a better place. I'm happy that she at least is learning from some of the things that she's experienced, and hopefully that won't be repeated, and hopefully she can find somebody who is going to be better for her and help her grow. And hopefully she doesn't go into the relationship thinking that just because the person that she's with is a better person, that the relationship is now just going to be easy. It's not. Even when you're with a good person, a great person, the relationship is still not always going to be easy. There's always going to be growth and some growing pains. So hopefully, you know, she picks those things up and she does, she can enter a much healthier, much more stable relationship in the future.
Yeah, I love that answer. Both yourself, Max, and Precious, talking on some real things. Yeah. I mean, I think she had maybe not the first time. I mean, maybe not the second time, but I think by the time she's watching 2 or 3 videos of him decking another woman, and she's wanting to change her. So I think at that point you have quite enough information. But I say again, when you know better, you do better. And so, in a sense, has she had been better acquainted with the truth? You know what I mean? Because knowledge is one thing, but has she been better acquainted with the truth? Okay. Ajay, I was shaking his head. I'm not giving her a way out. What I'm saying is people make changes based on the truths that they believe in. So the truth that she didn't believe in that truth. And that's the reality. That is the gospel. When you start to see changes, because you acquaint yourself with the truth, right? And that's where the changes come from. People can believe in Jesus Christ and they can believe what they see in the Bible, but until it becomes your actual truth that you want to live by, people don't change. They just stay the same, because belief is simply believing, is accepting something to be true. It doesn't actually require any change. So it just means you believe it to be true. I could believe that God is real, but then I don't have to. And many people do believe that God is real. In fact, the Bible says that even the demons tremble. Okay, and the demons even believe that He's one, but they won't worship Him, right? Because it's not their truth. So truth is what the quintessential change product between that person. So I'm not saying that she's excusable or anything. I'm just saying that, has she been better acquainted with the truth of what her value is, what love is, what someone caring for you is? This would have been a different situation. I think it opens up another conversation, which is, how much accountability does a father have to take too? You know what I mean? Because that's where you're supposed to be getting taught from, right? That's where you're meant to be getting taught from. Your father is meant to be teaching you these things so you know what love looks like and how it's supposed to be presented, so that when you see it, you can also know it. Now, of course, that doesn't stop people from being cheated on or being in bad relationships, but it usually does stop the person from being in very long-term madness. You know what I mean? Like, everyone likes to do their own thing and try to prove their parents wrong. We've all been there, but it usually prevents you from going to that long, protracted negotiations of false love that people might enter into as well. Any other thoughts on this before we round up? Any other thoughts that are coming to mind? Yes, Precious, go for it.
I was just going to say, it's important to just note that with accountability, I think somebody in the chat said it. There's a thin line with accountability and blame, and I think the thin line there is compassion, is self-compassion. If you're able to be accountable and have compassion for yourself, it stops you from putting all the blame on yourself and then falling back into a victimhood. So I think it's important that, yes, you're accountable, but you also have the compassion to be like, yes, this happened. This is probably why it's happening. That's why I need to give myself some grace and learn from it moving forward. And I think that's the important part of when you're sort of trying to balance that thin line of being the victim, but also trying to find some form of accountability. Because I think that becomes, as you were saying, Kojo, that becomes your truth. And that's when the change happens.
Go for it, Joe. Sorry. Oh, so no, I said Joel. So Jay. Okay, Joel, go for it. I already said your name. Go for it, Joel. I already said your name. Then Jay go after.
Yeah.
I'm getting Jay's mixed up, bro. I'm so sorry, boys.
All right. So, yeah, I hear what everyone's saying, but to me, maybe it's just like I think of it from a more simple perspective, which is okay, they were young when they met, but he had other women while she was dealing with him. 9 years of that. When they got together, if she thought that would change, maybe he tried to, use that lip service, the same kind of speeches he gives to all of his 73K followers. Maybe he gave her a full blast of that in confidence, every day gave her those type of affirmations. Yeah, if you want to, you know how he talks, right? He probably did give her some of that and manipulated her. But unfortunately, if she is searching for the love and affection from her father, she isn't going to necessarily find that in her husband. That's something that she has to resolve privately with herself, because that trauma happened before there was any Derrick Jaxon. So sometimes people look for love in the wrong places. And Derrick Jaxon, like I said, he comes across as an intelligent dude. He's clearly charismatic, clearly has a lot going for himself to appeal to a lot of women out there. But what she did was align herself in that marriage, knowing how he was. She put herself in a position where they are married in name only, but he's stepping outside the marriage to go do what he's doing. And she's probably so used to seeing him do it and knowing about it. How are you going to be watching videos of him having sex with other women, and then you decide to try and be like the women that he's having sex with in order to entertain him or, get some favor from him in that way? Again, this is her thinking of how she can keep him or how she can still be a part of him. Now, obviously, in the religious aspect, it's till death do you part. It doesn't say if infidelity leave. It says till death do you part, right? But it also says to honor and cherish. And that's the part where I think Derrick Jaxon clearly was void of his responsibilities and his duty, because he's not only harming his wife, Danae, but his daughters are now going to grow up with him as their father, doing all the philandering and moving mad that he was doing. Now they are going to be affected by their father, their role model in that male aspect, doing what he's done. So I don't like Derrick Jaxon. I never have. I knew he was BS from the start, right? But I'm saying with Ms. Jackson, the fact that he had to initiate divorce proceedings to leave also tells me that she would have stayed, right? And that to me is the problem. She's looking for something that wasn't there from before him, trying to find it in him. And he's not going to give it, because he's been the same way since before they met, all the way through to their marriage. And now that they're separated, he's still out there running around doing the same thing. He's still spitting game on his platform. And then he's still linking these chicks as well, because he has been seen with multiple women, dating. He's going to move on with his life very easily because he has so much to choose from. But with her, I would caution jumping into another relationship so soon. Some people say that you get over the person just as long as you were with them, right? But I think whatever it is she's searching for, she needs to find that and come to terms and be at peace with that first, before she gets into another relationship and starts to project what she experienced with Derrick Jaxon into this new guy, whether it be insecurities, whether it be anything else. Like, make sure you take care of yourself first so that you're fully healed or fully over what you experienced, and then go into that relationship when you find it. Because that guy that you're going to meet next doesn't deserve the insecurities and all the other stuff that you most likely will be suffering from dealing with such a prolific cheater like Derrick Jaxon.
Hey, Jay, are you going to say?
Yeah, so I was on mute. Someone in the comments mentioned, you know, she wasn't the only one, she wasn't the one. And I was having a conversation with my colleague today, just showing her this interview because she didn't know it was coming out. And it goes hand in hand with what I said earlier. Like, a lot of women, they want to feel chosen. And, you know, the only time this situation has worked out is Gucci Mane and Keisha Dior. But that was, what, 10 years plus of her enduring some of this behavior just for him to be the man that he is now. I can't think of another relationship where that works. So I don't know why that's almost like a thought process that a lot of ladies have, that if they endure this nonsense, they're going to be that one, be that fairy tale where it all works out. But I have to remove that decision from them and understand mentally and emotionally, and in those moments, they're not in a place to be able to make such an informed decision in the first place. However, I will still say that they are complicit because there's always something that's telling you this is not okay. But what keeps you around is that hope. Hope is great when used correctly, but it's dangerous when it's used for bad reasons. And I feel like this is what the situation was. I hope he is going to choose me. I hope he's going to say, do you know what? You stuck around. I thank you. You are the one, and be all that I need to be. And when we look at blame and compassion, right? I feel like she didn't blame herself at all today. I feel like she's just addressed his behavior and addressed her behavior in allowing things to happen and why she did those things and understanding why this is not good. I'm not encouraging you ladies to do it. I'm just saying this is why I did it. And I know it excited me at times what was coming with it. But I also had to deal with these other things. I could have made a different decision. But I also feel like for her to be where she is now is because she now has chosen to have compassion for herself, to understand, look what I've put myself through. I need help. I need healing. I need guidance. I need to be a completely different person. Because not one time today did she speak from anger. You know, she didn't even talk about other women doing certain things. You know, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but the whole thing with Jacquelina in Love is Blind, one of the things I realized is that a lot of women were angry at Jacquelina because her behavior reminded those women of themselves. They hadn't reached that point where they was compassionate with themselves to say, do you know what, I need help too. I need the same level of healing. And I feel it's so powerful that Denia was able to be in that place today. You know, I don't know what she's been doing over the past 6 months to 1 year. Maybe she'll speak about counseling, therapy, whatever she's been through. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like it's so powerful for her to be at this point because she is so able to speak so eloquently, specifically to women, to say, ladies, I've been through what you've been through. I was going through what you've been going through all this time. And trust me, I understand you. But I want to give you a bit of guidance, give you a bit of understanding that, you know, we need to make better decisions and stop ourselves from being in this. But it starts with us going through that healing phase first so we can be strong enough to make better decisions because we know the right decision to make, but we need to be strong enough to do them. When it comes to Derrick, I mean, I don't like to say there's no hope, but he has to make the decision. Like, you know, my life has taught me God can make a way, but you have to allow God in to do the work. And right now, everything that's happened seems like Derrick doesn't want that right now. This is who he is. He has his own reasons. We're yet to find out. Definitely we'll talk about it when more things come out, but it's just a sad situation. But I commend Denia for coming out, just being vulnerable and just giving us all of this, because as much as we're talking about it, as much as, you know, we can assume and say different things, I mean, it's a learning point. It's truly a learning point for a lot of women and a lot of men, you know, to see what a lot of men put women through with this type of behavior. But definitely for ladies who they don't know how to operate themselves out of these types of situations. So they keep staying in it until it really poisons their heart. You know, so yeah, that's where I am, man. Yeah, I'm not shocked, but it's just wow.
Yeah, I hear that. Anyone else with any last words for this? He and your daughter. No? Max, you look like you leaned. Your
Nah,
shoulder, it just leaned.
we're good. We're good. We're good.
Are you sure? Because you leaned.
Not you knowing. Nah, we're good. We're good. It's a good place to wrap it up. It's a good place.
So you do have something. Pressure, anything else? Last words there?
No, I agree with what most people have said here. I think compassion and accountability are they're like, what's the word? What they call them? They're was it twin flames? Is that what they call it?
Mutually.
Okay.
Mutually
exclusive.
Souls are like souls are together.
Oh yeah, twin flame is
there we go.
Yeah,
I think but we'll just go with the easier one of mutually exclusive. They have to go hand in hand.
Symbiotic.
Yeah, that's the only way that you can make changes. If you have accountability, you also have some self-compassion. And yeah, I just wish her the best. It just sounds, I just hate when you hear these things. Like, it's just so, like, and that's why so many people, like, you just notice so many people are so disillusioned with relationships and disillusioned with just the idea of even being in a relationship with somebody, because they see all of these extremely toxic relationships that are the mega piece of social media. And so, there's just a lot of cold-heartedness going on, which is a shame.
Definitely. That's true. All right. No, listen, it's been good. I really appreciate the conversation today. We're gonna be back again next week, same time. But yeah, really good conversation, and I appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts. And shout out to Derrick Jaxons. I mean, she's gonna be here tomorrow, so part 2 will be reloaded. We'll find out, and we might have to do an impromptu live at this point because.
How do you manage to get all these interviews like this?
Listen, this one's not even. This is our brother Latiris Whitfield. He'd be killing the game. So I can't even mess. We're all waiting to see what happens tomorrow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And can I just say something on that point?
Yes,
actually,
Charlie.
Just to say that it's one thing to go through the humiliation of being cheated on, and even if you knew a little bit about what he was about and what he was like, you're still going through the pain of all of that, and then it just compounds. I don't think there was a time when he was faithful, like seriously. And it's one thing to go through all of those things, and then it's another thing entirely to go through those things in the public view of social media internationally. And my wish for her is that she's able to not just be boundaried around her choices in the future, but to be boundaried with the world, because people believe that they're entitled to say whatever they want because they think that it's public information, but this is still her life. So my desire for her is that her block button be swift for people who want to step out of line, and she's able to create a safe space with her good friends, her good people, away from people who want to judge her and critique her, so that she is cocooned, because social media is not kind. So that's what I'd say.
It's a good word. Can't lie to you. A good word. All right, audience, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure sitting here having this conversation with you about Derrick Jaxons and having our dilemmas as well. We'll be back next week with some more enthralling conversations going forward, but really do appreciate the dialogue from my team as well. So Max, Charlene, Jay, JR, Precious, thank you so much for the convo. It's been good. It's been entertaining. It's been refreshing, and it's had some depth to it as well. And so I hope those who have been watching have taken some stuff away, consider different things, and moved with compassion, which is the word that we're ending on, compassion, as well, you know. So audience, we appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you guys leave a comment underneath the video, okay? As well, hey, listen, by the way, listen, you can message me and DM me if you want, okay? I'm not Derrick Jaxon, but listen, message DM me, okay? I'm single. I ain't got no hidden wives, okay? But I appreciate y'all. Stay locked, stay loaded. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. But anyway, I appreciate you lot. We'll see you again. We'll see you again next week for another great live as well. Much love, much appreciation.